Thank you for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King. I'm excited because it's election time and I'm trying to get you excited, viewers. Please get excited. I have two great civil judges in the audience today, or in the studio today, that want to tell you what civil judges do in state court. They also want to tell you what the regular person might have a civil problem for and land in their courts, and tell you the importance of voting. You know, I tell you that every week, why it's important for us to vote and vote your conscience and to vote straight ticket. I tell you every week, and I get tired of me saying this, vote straight ticket, not because Vivian King said so, but because that's the way our state legislature decided to make Texas. There are 10 states that do straight ticket, that do the party system. And our system has been designed to elect a party chairperson. So there's a Republican chairman or chairwoman, there's a Democratic chairman or chairwoman in Harris County, and they're supposed to put a slate together that you vote for. I didn't design that, and we can't fight it. No one at the bottom, no judge can win and let 4 million people in Harris County know them. And until we have a nonpartisan type of election, it's nothing we can do about it. I bet y'all didn't know that there's a Democratic chairman that we actually vote for. Y'all vote for them, and they pick the slate. So you're supposed to go straight ticket unless you actually know the judge that you want to vote for as part of another party. And I voted. How about you? So let's, without any further ado, I want to get started. And who wants to go first? Elaine, you to my right, so why don't you go first? This is Judge Palmer.
Okay, I'm Elaine Palmer, Judge of 215 Civil District Court. The type of cases that most people would have that come into our courts are auto accidents, property disputes, property taxes, business issues, personal injuries, some maybe even catastrophic, and some minor, not minor, but not where death is imminent.
So tell me why you don't hear divorces.
Well, the family court handles, Harris County has district courts, and we're divided by civil, criminal, and family, and juvenile. Well, the family courts handle the divorces and child issues. So that's why we're specific, subject matter specific.
And how much does the amount in controversy have to be to land in your court, Judge Palmer?
Years, anywhere from 0 up into infinity. Because I've had some auto accidents that were as small as possibly $5,000, and some that I had just recently a civil case that was a $55 million jury verdict. So
how long was that trial?
That was a 3-day trial, a 3-week trial. I'm sorry, it's supposed to last 8 days, but ended up lasting 3 weeks.
With that much money?
Yes.
And $55 million was awarded?
That's what the jury awarded, $55 million.
Wow. Well, we always hear in Texas and Harris County that we're not plaintiffs oriented. How did that happen? What was the issue?
It was a business divorce. It was a family business divorce, and the attorneys did really, really well with going through voir dire and getting, I would say, good jurors that would actually listen to what they were saying and paying attention and kind of following their story. And so that's what they ended up.
So was it a business, like a family business where people wanted to split the family business up?
Yes.
Like,
well, it was
wife take one, husband, and the husband or the children take the other half?
This was a brother-in-law that started the business, brought in his wife's sister's husband, and things, they went along pretty well for a while. And then all of a sudden there was some strife and discord. And that's when the...
landed them in court.
Yes.
Could not agree. So the moral to the story is if you have a business, you need to have a good business agreement.
Yes.
a good business agreement as to how you will dissolve the business if we decide to break up as a family and as a business, because basically that's what it was about, right?
Yes, that's what it was.
Wow, that's powerful. So, Judge, tell me what you do. Introduce yourself to our audience.
Sure. My name is Alexandra Smoots-Hogan. I am your judge of the 164th Civil District Court. I also handle civil cases, much like Judge Palmer, car wrecks, business divorces, catastrophic injuries, small injuries, oil and gas disputes over oil and gas leases, all kinds of property disputes, all kinds of business disputes, contracts, lots of breach of contract cases, which comes up all the time in our courts.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so basically what I like to tell people is we sort of deal in monopoly money, right? So if you go to county court at law, which is the lower division from us, they hear things from about 10,000 up to no more than 200,000. And generally when people file in our courts, they're asking for 200,000 and up, but like Judge Palmer said, sometimes it ends up going all the way down to 5,000 by the time they get done with it. So like I said, I mean, my biggest jury verdict was probably about $40 million.
Wow.
I have people asking, last trial I did, the plaintiffs were seeking upwards of $40 million.
Wow.
Unfortunately, they didn't get quite that much.
Do
So
you remember how much that the jury awarded them, or did you do the awarding?
I did not do the awarding. No, it was the jury. In the end, the jury awarded about $12 million.
Wow, it's still a lot of money.
Still a lot of money. Still a lot of money. So, like I said, we deal in monopoly money. I very frequently tell my lawyers, I have a mortgage, so I can't really wrap my head around
I know.
the kind of money you're talking about.
That's a lot of money. Was that a business divorce also? The 12
No,
million?
the 12 million was a catastrophic injury. Unfortunately, it was a death case, and no, it was a catastrophic injury. I'm sorry. A lady was a quadriplegic after riding on a bus. So,
Whoa.
so yeah.
Was
So
it like Greyhound or Metro? Or?
it was Metro. Yeah, it was really kind of a sad. It's one of those freak accidents that changes your life. And see, we deal with that a lot. We deal with people that have had just freak situations that they never would have expected. I mean, when we talk to voters all the time, they're like, why would I ever end up in your court? No, I don't have $1 million. I don't have 6 figures. You know, I have a job. I got a mortgage. I got a car payment. I would never be in front of you. And then when we take the time to explain to them really what we see, people really get it a lot more. And they sort of understand why our positions are, frankly, more important than when you vote for the top of the ticket.
Right. But unfortunately, as I discussed the Texas scheme, it puts you at the bottom of the ticket. And who can actually raise enough money to get to 4 million Harris County members?
Right.
I mean, who could do it? So I had a young lawyer on who's not so young anymore. He's been around about 5 or 6 years. Damon, who's very smart, but he was like, he's still of the mind, don't vote straight ticket. But like I was trying to explain to him, I had one saying vote straight ticket, Carvana Cloud, and then I had Damon Parrish on the other hand saying don't vote straight ticket. I said, Damon, I thought that too until I researched our legislative scheme. We can't reinvent the wheel. We can become legislators and try to vote to change it. I mean, but we didn't design it. And I've run twice in 2010 and 12 and lost and worked my butt off. And I learned that with no one paying for anything but you can maybe influence about 10,000, 15,000 votes. And that's what you're working your butt off. I mean, and if you lose in a straight ticket situation, it's going to be about 10 or 15,000 votes at the most. But that's about all you can influence. And we didn't design this system. So I think as citizens, and especially as minority lawyers who want a seat at the table, we need to play the game the way the game is. I mean, we can't change the game unless we become the legislators. Correct. And we have to rely on our party chairs to create the type of slate that everybody can vote straight ticket for, because that's the way it's designed. We can't change that unless you go to Austin. So, Danny, talk to us. Tell me, I know you're always dealing with the criminal side of things because that's what we specialize in, but tell me what your thoughts are listening to what these lovely judges deal with every day. Things out of our realm, money.
Well, when you told me about the format of the show, I thought I was coming to meet Judge Judy and Judge Brown. You know, from the public's point of view, most of what I think about attorney is what I see on television, and some of the most famous cases when judges are involved were criminal cases, like the O.J. case when Judge Ito and people like that. You remember those types. But I did learn something from being around you, Vivian, that in the bigger scheme, when we look at the national election, and we believe that whoever's going to be elected is going to change the way we live and change our society. What I've learned is who controls our society the most are our local judges, have the most impact on our real-day lives. So it made me start paying more attention to the judges in our districts here, because they're the ones that are that we're in front of for fines and some of the things they're saying.
Personal injury, car wrecks.
So it's not going to be Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump deciding something that happens to me in Harris County. It's going to be a judge. And so I need to know that judge is going to have more control over my life. So I think it's very important that we're having this conversation, and we have some judges on the stage right now that we can actually look at and question and ask
And
help.
learn
Right.
about our system, because one of the things for me, I have to adopt the straight ticket voting, because even though I'm a lawyer, board certified in criminal law, I really only know the criminal lawyers. I know those 38 criminal lawyers. I have been divorced twice, and I hired lawyers both times. Sandra Peak, my girlfriend, and so I went to undergrad school with. I don't know who the family judges are. I every now and then get hoodwinked into helping somebody with a divorce. You know,
Hasn't every lawyer gotten
I know,
hoodwinked?
I know.
Don't you remember when we were on the outside? I remember getting talked into helping on a family case, and I'm like,
Never again.
never again. And you know, I had a good friend do my divorce, but I want nothing to do with it.
divorces. So you know that judge because you went over there, but we don't really know who they are. So I have to rely on Sandra Peak, who's been a lawyer, family lawyer since 1981, and I graduated in 80. We were in undergrad school together in the 70s. Who are the family judges? Because I don't know who they are. And then I have to rely on you ladies, you know, well, I can't really rely on you now since you're judges, but, you know, before you became judges, who are the civil judges? You know, who are the civil district judges? Because I don't know who they are. We will never know who they are. And if you vote, you do a disservice by leaving it blank. You do a disservice because that's not the way we're designed. Now, our city elections are designed to be nonpartisan. That's why you don't know if Mayor Turner is a Democrat or a Republican. You don't know if your city council person is a Democrat or a Republican because they're nonpartisan. You vote for the person. But really, you don't vote for the person with the state. It's great to find out who your judges are, but many of them, when you go to the criminal court of the 38, you've never seen their signs even in our community, because you just don't know who they are. And most of them are Republicans, and I live in 3rd Ward. A lot of those signs are not in 3rd Ward. I don't see them. I know them because I know them, but I don't know them because I know them because their signs are in 3rd Ward or 5th Ward or in the city. And I'm not knocking them. They are relying on the party system that was designed in Texas for the person at the top of the ticket to carry them. So the president, Trump, is going to carry them. Ted Cruz and John Cornyn, the Republican senators, are going to carry them. They raised the money for the RNC, the Republican National Committee, and they carry them. We have got to be educated enough to play the system as it's designed. We cannot change the system that you don't understand. Okay, you can't do that. And that's what we do. And that's what I'm fighting against. And we fight an uphill battle because I remember when I was running one time, I went to party on the plaza because I office at the Lyric Center, so I walk over there. I spent 2 hours talking to 2 people trying to convince them to vote. I don't care about them. They're going to do what they want to do. No, they do what you let them do. I mean, you know, I had to go on and on and on. It's just too frustrating. It's too hard. It's just too hard to do. So I have relegated myself to one who will not run again, but I will help those who are running. So I hope that by giving you exposure, that we can help with your 5,000 to 10,000 extra votes that you need.
Right.
Because we're definitely going to play this. The station plays it about 12 times. We'll put it on YouTube. We reach a lot of people. Danny will do his part.
Right.
That's right. Right. And our street patrol will do their part. So tell us something else interesting that we wouldn't know. A normal person would know about what you do and why we need you.
Well, what
Either one of you can say.
Okay. Well, did you all know that there are actually ranches inside the city of Houston, like cattle ranches inside the city of Houston? Did you have any idea?
In the county or in the city?
No, in the city.
In
right?
the actual city
In the
limits.
actual city limits. One of the first.
I know Acres Home is kind of country.
Well, no.
I know out Westheimer was kind of country back in the day.
I'm talking
Clark was
610,
country.
610 and 45. I had a case where it was a cow versus a motorcycle. And this cow ended up out on, was it Allen Genoa? And the gentleman was riding his Harley through there, and the cow was black, it was dark, and he was injured. And
Why the cow had to be a black cow?
What that's what it was. It was a black cow, and it was dark. He ran into that cow
With his motorcycle?
with his
Oh, I
motorcycle.
bet he almost killed himself. Did he fly over?
Yeah, he was hurt pretty bad. It's my understanding the cow died. But at that point, that's when I learned there are ranches, cattle ranches inside the city of Houston.
So let me guess. The motorcycle guy sued the cattle ranch for letting their cow get out in the middle
No,
of
he
the road.
sued the black cow.
You sued the cow.
The black cow owner.
No, I think he probably. Well, okay. Where's the judge? Who got sued?
The cow, the owner of the cow,
See?
or the presumed owner
That's
of the
what I
cow.
She
Yeah.
said the cow.
And in that case, the cow won.
Really?
cow won?
Literally and figuratively. See? Black
Wow.
cow
Now,
won.
let me ask you this: when you learned that there are cattle ranches inside the city of Houston, so how many cattle do you remember? I'm just guessing, but what do you think?
The Harris County Sheriff has a livestock division. And, you know, like you said, out Westheimer, you used to seeing cows out there, maybe Hiram Clark, and out Northwest, Clay Road, that kind of area. But they were actually out on NASA Parkway.
Wow.
And they had a list, and they had little dots. And I was like, I grew up here, and I never knew they had, I mean, it was literally.
They're registered as cattle, as livestock.
Livestock, yeah. And they were literally right. I mean, we pass by them all the time. You never know.
And do they have to pay insurance? I mean, so like when the cow won, the man didn't hit the cow on purpose. So why'd the cow win? I don't understand that, because if the cow was out there and the man let his cow out, so that basically was found no liability.
Yeah, well, yeah, because I don't know if you guys, a motorcycle has the big light in the middle and two on smalls on the side.
Okay.
And the larger light, you would think throws more light, but it doesn't. The smaller ones, and he had his brighter light on, and it was just shooting straight ahead. And the cow, you know, a cow's pretty big.
Right.
And he hit the back end of the cow, and he said before that he loved eating T-bone steaks. I said, yeah, that cow bit you bad.
But I don't understand how the cow can't have no license. He had no been on the road. He's supposed
Yeah, how
to be
did they know
inside
his lights were on?
Well, because it was dark in that area, and like I said, the cows were black, and I think an officer had come through earlier and saw that the cows had gotten out of their enclosure, and they were out on the roadway.
They should have had some lights.
But I'm just trying to see, since the man had the wreck, I guess he just told him what lights he had on. So the law must require those
once you
side lights.
If you're on a motorcycle, if you guys, I ride.
I don't know.
I haven't ridden in a while, but when you hit something, whatever's on stays on.
Oh, it didn't go off.
It doesn't go off until those were the lights that were on.
But those lights are required to be on.
Yeah.
So-
well, he should have had all three of them on, really.
So
Oh,
he
so they
violated.
blamed him.
So he was at fault because he didn't have his proper
proper
lighting
lighting.
on.
Wow.
So basically,
So
he
was the cow supposed to move out of the way when he saw the lights?
Yeah, like
cow
that was
wasn't
gonna make a
supposed to be
difference.
there.
The cow
Like,
was
oh,
gonna come
okay.
out.
I know Elsie was going to come guide him out.
Elsie was gonna guide him out.
But just think about this: even if he had all three lights on, he wouldn't have been able to move fast enough. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because the cow would have been there, and so even if he would have tried to veer, if it was some cars over here, he wouldn't have been able to get into their lane.
Yeah.
So even if he had all the
And then
lights
he
on,
would
you
have
wouldn't.
hit one of those cars. It would have been an even bigger
Bigger
lawsuit.
accident.
and-
But a motorcycle doesn't move like a car. You have to shift it with your weight. So unless you, and he rode his motorcycle, he said, pretty often to work. And it was just that by the time he got there, the cow was there, and there was nobody next to him. So I think
Yeah, I'm
I
just
put-
saying, even if he had all the lights on, he wouldn't have been able to move fast
Yeah.
enough. But it's just that's the way jurors are in
Yeah,
Harris
But
County.
the investigator, when he came out, I mean, did he get really injured?
Oh, yeah.
So when they came out, how was they concerned? Like, oh, the cow over here dead. This guy is injured. Let's go check the lights on the motorcycle.
Well, like I said, once you hit something that big, because a cow is, what, a couple thousand pounds?
So the investigators, I mean, for them to know the look and to see if he had his lights on is amazing. To
They
me.
might have taken pictures.
Yeah, they took pictures. And
See,
then-
they might have
then there
taken
was an
pictures, so they would have been memorialized if those lights weren't on.
Yeah.
I guess is what you're saying.
And they could have had an accident reconstructionist that
Yeah.
might have come in and tried to recreate the scene too. So that might have been part of it.
Yeah, but it was interesting. That was a real interesting.
That is very interesting to know that there are cow and they're registered livestock cow farms in
ranches
in the city of Houston.
Yeah.
That is very interesting. I didn't know that. Judge Palmer, thank you. So did that spur your mind to think of anything, Judge?
Well, I guess we could talk about my more notable cases, some of which you know about.
Oh yeah, I know about one. Whatever you want to say, this is your free for all.
I can talk about some of the earlier cases. I can talk about that case too.
Well, you can talk about any of them. You know, whatever's public record. I mean, we all know about it. So
they're all
whatever
public
you think
record.
is interesting.
The juicy ones, I guess, is as some people know, I am the treasurer's judge. So I handled an interesting strip club case a few years ago.
Wow,
that
talk about that. I didn't get to see that on the news. So tell me the treasures. Okay,
Oh, yes.
wow.
So some people know, which I learned through the case, Houston is known for having the most popular strip club in the world.
Which one is that? Treasures?
Treasures.
I didn't know that. It's
People
more popular than that one in Atlanta where all the money's on the floor?
Oh, yes.
I thought the money one was the
No,
name one.
people
What's the name
come
of the one in Atlanta? Y'all know it? Magic. I think it's called Magic. I think it's called Magic.
Wherever they make it rain, whatever all
they
that
make it
is.
rain.
Anyway.
Yeah, they make it rain.
Yeah, I learned more about strip clubs during that case than I ever wanted to. So I have the distinction of being the judge that hears our nuisance cases. And so if we have a business, a place, or a person that may be involved in criminal street gang activity, then the county and the state comes to me and says, declare this person, place, thing, or business to be a nuisance, and then I get to adjudicate what we should do with that nuisance.
Right.
So it's a very specialized kind of case. A lot of people don't know all of the ins and outs of it. They just hear what they hear on the media. I don't want to sound like the other candidate who complains about big media all the time, but they just hear that side of it. And I get the distinction of living it through these cases.
Oh, I know. It's a lot. It's a lot. So was Treasures considered a nuisance case?
It was a nuisance case. Yeah, a lot of people don't know Treasures has a gang problem as well.
Gang too? Oh, I didn't
Oh,
know
yeah.
that.
Treasures has gangs that run, not anymore. This is all allegedly.
Allegedly, of course.
Allegedly, according to the
allegations are,
petition that was filed in my court, that there was gang activity, drug activity. These are the allegations. not what
Right.
was
Of course, only allegations. We understand.
gang activity, drug activity, prostitution activity. I think that's about it.
That's a lot. That's everything.
That was a lot.
That's everything.
And that was the original allegation, and that because of all of those things going on in the club, they operated as a public nuisance. They were a nuisance to the area around them. The management district for the neighborhood around them was not very pleased with the level of activity that was going on at Treasures, especially.
And Treasures has been there a long time.
A long time.
A long
Long
That's
time.
why I didn't know it had that much teeth.
Where is it located
On
at?
Westheimer or Richmond, right? It's Westheimer.
Westheimer.
Westheimer. It's been there forever.
It's been there for a while.
Okay.
In fact,
Y'all got the physical address?
yeah, not so much anymore.
Just leave the Galleria and go west.
And
go
go
west,
west.
young
You'll
man.
see it.
You'll see
You
it.
cannot miss it.
Go west, young man, on the from the Galleria and look left. You'll see
Yeah.
it.
West or bust? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
There were lots of funny moments. You have to find levity.
Did
in
y'all
the
actually do a
craziness.
trial?
So we had what is called a temporary injunction. So a lot of people don't understand this.
Yes, explain that.
So in civil court, not everything goes all the way to trial. Sometimes things start with an emergency motion that we call a temporary restraining order. Temporary restraining orders are heard by our ancillary court. So while there are 26 of us, did I say that right? 24 of us on the civil side. We rotate throughout the year, 2 weeks out of the year, acting as the ancillary judge. The ancillary judge, for those that don't understand, basically means we're the ER doc for 2 weeks. So any emergencies that come in, say a baby's been born, needs a transfusion, but their parents are Jehovah's Witness and won't give them a transfusion. They'll come see us to see if we can help out. Or someone's about to lose their home to foreclosure sale and they want to stop the sale. They'll come see the ancillary judge. Or in the Treasures case, there was a concern about the level of criminal activity occurring or possibly occurring at Treasures. And so the state came in and said, here's all the things that's been happening in the last 30 days. Please give us a restraining order to stop them from operating as a business.
Wow. And I know Treasures has been there more than 20 years.
Yes.
It's maybe been there 30 years. It's been there almost as long as I've been here. Looks like we have a phone call, so we'll take a short break to answer this call. Caller, thank you for calling, and state your comment, please.
Hi, this is Belinda Somerville. Hi, Vivian. Hi.
Hi, Belinda.
Danny. Hey. My question is about the Black Cow incident. And I wanted to know the areas that actually have the cattle ranches and stuff. Are there signs posted? And should there have been a sign posted? And were there signs posted saying that there were cattle?
Well, it sounds like from what Judge Palmer said that the Harris County Sheriff, so I guess if you call 713-755-5000 and ask for the livestock division of the Sheriff's Department, you'll get to the officer who controls that part of the program. But, the judge is the referee between the two parties, and so we'll see if Judge Palmer remembers. Do you remember if there were signs?
I don't think they were, but I don't remember. That was a couple of years back.
Okay, because I agree with you, ma'am. A lot of times there are signs like when deer cross often or where things cross often. Harris County jurors are really funny, and a lot of my colleagues who are civil lawyers and plaintiffs lawyers say it's difficult to win, even though you might be injured. So, the motorcycle rider was suing, and I think they probably should have won just off the cuff, but who knows, maybe he was speeding, maybe I don't know what he was doing. Even if he had all his lights on, if a big old cow's in the road, nobody can stop in time. That's like hitting a deer or something. I mean, it's just, you just can't stop. Not in Houston. I mean, not if it's a freeway. And she's describing a freeway or a back road. Back roads a lot of times have high speeds. So interesting. You have another question, caller?
No, ma'am, that's all.
Thank you for watching, and if you think of something else, call us back.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, so continue your story, please.
Oh, sorry. So for the Treasurer's case, it was a more emergent situation. So I don't believe they actually were operating under a temporary restraining order when it came to me, but they asked for a very quick temporary injunction hearing. So what that allows to happen is that they will come to me, put on their evidence, the state will, and say, here's all the reasons why we think we will be victorious at the time of trial. But before we get to trial, there's an emergent need to stop this entity from acting, being in business. They needed some sort of restriction on them to keep the community safe until the time of trial.
Wow.
And so they asked me to sign a temporary injunction. And we had 4 days of testimony.
Oh my God.
I learned more than I ever wanted to know about what goes on in the Treasurer's nightclub. That is for sure. And to this day, I have the distinction of not being Carmelo Anthony's most favorite judge in Harris County.
Why is that?
Because at the time that the Treasurer's case was going on, the Rockets were trying to woo Carmelo Anthony to come to Houston and play for the Rockets. And he gave a television interview. This was shortly after I made the decision I made. And he gave a television interview and he said, well, I might have gone to Houston. I was really excited to go check out this Treasurer's nightclub that I had heard about. But, then that, I won't use the expletive, judge messed it all up for all of us, and so that's part of why I didn't go to Houston.
So I must.
We don't have
No,
Carmelo
I'm
Anthony.
not. And you know what? We're not missing anything by having Carmelo Anthony. We're fine without him. We have James Harden.
That's right.
Well, so let me. So I guess to read between the lines that you granted the temporary injunction.
I did and I didn't. So sometimes, as I'm sure you guys see on the criminal side, the state wants a little bit
They're overreaching.
more.
Sometimes can be overreaching.
Yeah, just a little
I'll
bit.
say it.
Than they are entitled to. And then it sometimes lacks in other areas. So after listening to 4 days of testimony about what the real potential issues are in the club, I took their suggestions and then veered to where we actually needed to go to solve some of the issues that were happening in the club. So yes, I ultimately granted the temporary injunction, but I did it with my own spin and my own twist. And I must have done the right thing because after all was said and done, 16 of the most notorious clubs in Houston agreed to what is called the Sweet 16 deal, where they agreed to operate under most of the terms that I granted in the TI in the city of Houston.
Wow. Give us some examples if you remember. I know it was a while
Sweet
back.
16, what is,
16 clubs.
16 clubs.
So it's 16 big titty dancer clubs, okay? Let me just say that. treasures, adult nightclubs.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
I know it. Adult nightclubs. And
Adult
so-
clubs.
Adult
And
clubs.
So some of the restrictions that I think still exist to this day, that gentlemen tuck in their shirts at all times.
Okay.
There's more cameras throughout the location for the safety of everyone involved. There are different closing hours than there were previously.
Gotcha.
So little things like that. The notion of as Chris Rock used to say in his stand-up routines, the champagne room. The champagne room does not exist.
You close. You close
any
the.
longer.
You close the bubble room.
Yeah.
Golly, and I love bubbles.
Sorry.
Sorry.
There's no champagne room anymore.
No champagne room anymore, but they are still operating.
They're still operating.
Or do you think they're still one of the biggest in the country, or did you probably heard? That's probably why Magic is the biggest now. Because they say when you
the biggest now.
they say when you go to Atlanta at Magic, they say you wonder why it feels so soft under your feet, and you realize you're walking on money. I just can't imagine that.
I've seen pictures. I think I can imagine.
What I
like
can
that.
tell you about the gentlemen clubs.
Which
is-
ones?
I don't know any
Sweet
of them.
16?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know. I had never been in one in Houston, and I don't think I've been in one anywhere inside the continental United States.
So you're gonna tell us
But-
about them then?
Well, I'm gonna tell you what I've heard
Okay.
because
You've
I've
read about it.
Yeah.
He's
right.
never seen
Right.
it in
I'm gonna tell you what I.
person,
I'm gonna tell you what I
But he
googled.
researched,
Right.
and that's what he found out.
Right. Okay. Right.
I asked Siri.
Oh,
tell me
okay.
about
Siri.
Siri.
Oh,
Tell me
Siri
about
This is
Jennifer.
what
does.
Steve Jobs wanted
So
Siri to
Siri
do for.
To
broke it down
answer
to
a
me.
man's request. Okay. What Siri
I,
tell
I
you?
want them to tell me like what really goes on in the club.
Okay.
Like not the part that you see on TV. Like man, what really go on? And when y'all was talking about the champagne room, he said, well, what you do is if you go to the champagne room, different things happen up there. Like, tell me more.
Really?
You know what I'm saying? Don't stop talking. And I was like so. The champagne room is really like you have really hired someone to really just basically have sex with.
Oh, really?
Right.
Just break it
give you-
down.
and they may, you may can get, access to some paraphernalia to go along with
Oh,
it.
really? That's what happens in the champagne room.
Well, that's what
That's what
according to the
Siri,
report.
Siri, the he told you, because he said Siri, and then he said he one time
know,
too. So
Yeah.
Siri, I know
Third-hand
is a woman,
information.
but I understand.
Yeah.
Maybe,
Well, I
maybe
still-
you can make her voice sound different.
And some, for some people, different things interest them, and I just couldn't imagine like it's the money for exchange thing kind of threw me off. Like maybe if it was like first time you get in free something, maybe I could see it. But when
Why would you get in free when you're getting favors?
Well, it's kind of like a
Nobody.
promotion.
It's a job. No, the people who work there, they're working.
Like
They're
a cable
working.
company.
No, this is a work. They're working.
they're
Do you work for free? Do you go and promote yourself at your job? No.
I mean, I want you want to try something out before you buy.
Right.
Oh,
Oh, really?
my goodness.
Now that,
Or
yeah. If it's
Or like
permanent,
You
if it's
get a
permanent.
coupon,
They
like
don't
you buy
allow free
one,
samples.
you buy
I'm
one,
just
you
letting
get
you
one
know.
free or something like on your next
No.
trip back.
There's not a
There's-
job I know, but you know what's interesting about Hillary running for president? People are harder on women than they're on men. The
Always
night that
happened.
she won, I boohooed and cried because I left banking that I loved because I bumped my big head on the glass ceiling at the old Texas Commerce Bank shares. I went as high as I could go. But it's interesting. You reminded me of a chauvinistic statement, not on purpose, Danny, because I know you'd never do it on purpose because you struggle for women to have equality. I know that.
know
in your
I do.
mind. I know you do, and I love you for it. But when he said sample, now who would ever think of a men's work, whether you get to
Where
sample?
you sample.
Okay.
There is no sample.
There is no sampling. Who would ever think that anything a man does would have to be sampled first because a man is working? These are working women, and they get
They're
paid
working,
every
and
time
they
they do a job,
Yes, that is
even
true.
if it's that kind of job. Okay, so
I
now,
was thinking more like
you can't get out of it. You
Costco's
can't get out of it.
and
It's too late.
when you go in, they had those little
It's
trays
too late.
set up.
Desperately.
They're not
but
working?
No.
No sample?
No,
not so much.
no.
Now, I will tell you an interesting fact because as you said, you've never actually been
I haven't.
inside of one of
That's
these
the truth.
clubs. What I learned is that the champagne room is not actually a room.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
I did not.
Tell us
actually,
more. Tell me
so
more.
I always thought it was a room.
I did
because
too.
I've never, you hear the stand up and now I don't think
talking,
it's
keep
a
talking.
room. It is actually, I call them, once I saw the pictures, I said, look, it's like velvet horse stalls, basically.
Oh my
They're
God.
like little, it's like somebody
Like
made
just little
big,
sex spots, like horse stalls.
yeah, they're like horse stalls. They look like couches with like really high back, those high back chairs.
So you can't
from way
see on
back
the other
when.
side?
So you can't
Oh,
see on
a
the
little
other
privacy.
side. And so, and they're just connected to each other. And at the pictures I saw, they were blue velvet, and they all have like a little coffee table right in front of their prospective couch or whatever. And so, but they're not actually fully enclosed rooms.
Wow, they're stalls, horse stalls.
I like to call
gives
them
me-
velvet horse stalls.
Oh
yes.
my God! Well, that gives
Are
me
they
a very good.
positioned where the people that's actually in the club can see? Are they like
No,
turned the other way
they were
around?
on a different floor.
They're on
They
a
were-
different floor.
They're on a different floor, and now the stalls do face each other, much like horse stalls. So they do face each other, but they're in a separate area, or they were. They're not.
So
there.
did they have walls in between them?
No.
No walls. So these
No.
little high back couches create the wall.
That's the wall. That's the most privacy you get. Kind of like a cubicle.
You like little cubicles?
Same concept.
But the couches create the cubicle.
Wow. So all the sounds were there.
Oh yeah, it's on. Oh, it's on.
I
Whatever.
mean, I was not privy to any of that.
Oh, you didn't. They
but-
didn't give you the sound.
But needless to say, we
interesting.
made it a little safer for everyone to enjoy whatever entertainment they wish to enjoy
Adult entertainment.
within the bounds of the law. And
Right.
so that's what's important, is that our job is really to interpret the facts and the law so that whatever people are doing works within the four corners of the law.
Okay, interesting, very interesting. I've actually been to a gentleman's club with some gentlemen, and I never saw the champagne room, but they went. I didn't know when my daughter went off to college 4 years ago. She's a senior at Howard now, so I was lucky to meet this WWE wrestler. I went to the London Olympics. His name was Henry. It was a big old dude, big old giant guy. And he said, next time I'm in Houston, I said, I'm out in a dating game now. My daughter's in college. I need to understand what's going on. I said, but these young guys who keep trying to hit on me, they like titty clubs. And guys in my era, they didn't fool with women like that, you know? I said, but these guys, they date them, they go with them. I said, what's going on in these clubs? He said, next time I'm through Henry, his name is Mark Henry, I think. Next time I'm through Houston, I'm gonna take you to one. And he did. I went, from club to club, and it was very interesting. He kept buying me table dances, and every time the little young ladies would come through, they'd tell me they were in law school in UT, and they'd come for the weekend to dance. But whenever they'd try to dance, I didn't let them, because y'all don't know me, but I'm a big clown, so I wouldn't let them dance in front of me. I would stand up next to them, and I'd try to do the same move.
Oh, wow.
I was like, teach me.
Yeah, I know it. I can
I got
see
my
that.
clothes on, but I'm trying to
Yeah.
let me do it too. Let
see
me
that.
do it too. So that's what I was doing. It was kind of funny, but they're very interesting. But there was a back room.
Yes.
But I don't know who went back there, but they showed it to me.
They don't want many of the women
I know.
clients
I know.
going
I know.
in the back room. But I did have some that were, my favorite witness out of the 4 days was a lovely young African-American woman who wanted to explain to me how entrepreneurial she really is.
Entrepreneurial.
Entrepreneurial.
Because they pay to dance. They're contract
she's
labor.
perfectly entrepreneurial, though. She has a book about weaves. She does weaves. She teaches other women how to do weaves. She teaches other women how to make wigs. And this is just, to start all of those little businesses. It's just extra.
Okay, so she's dancing to get her money together to
be
start
able
her
to do
hair
that.
business.
Yes.
Interesting. So that's the entrepreneurial.
That's the entrepreneurial.
I thought she was entrepreneurial.
Well, she referred to herself as entrepreneurial. I am
Okay.
perfectly entrepreneurial.
Okay.
And then
all
she
right.
explained all of these things that she does, and that her husband helps her with those businesses, and so she does this on the side to help out with.
Right. Yeah. When I was first a prosecutor in '92, I was shocked that the women paid to dance at those clubs. I just didn't know what that
Yes.
arrangement
They
was.
paid to
Yeah, they're
dance?
contract labor.
They pay.
So like when in the '90s, like '92, '93, when I was a prosecutor, there was a lot of vice bus. So they'd go in with mark money and give them dances and all this good stuff and see who would go too far, to the prostitution end. And they would be, cinnamon or candy cane or whatever. So when they'd go back to bust them, they wouldn't have the undercover vice bust them. They would have the suited patrol bust them. And so they have to go to the owner and get what is Candy Cane's government name. So when they sign in to work, they pay and they give them their real name and then their dance name. At least that's the way it was in
I have a
92,
question.
93.
Since we're talking about vice, what about the one-liners that are operating openly in Houston that they say that supposed to be outlawed?
One line.
One-liner is just the you put your money in, you're only supposed to get gifts, and they pay out cash.
I don't know
in
about
the
that.
stores.
What's
You,
that?
you see
That's
people sitting on
gambling
the-
or what?
Yeah, you see them sit on the stool. A one-liner
I never heard
is
of
you,
that.
you put the money in, you pull the lever down like it's a slot
like
machine.
slot
Gamblers, those
machines?
slot
Yes.
machines. Yeah, that is
So
illegal.
The game rooms. So that is something, every once in a while I get those too. Like I said, I get,
Now, why would you get them for civil?
because it's a
Nuisance.
it's a
It's the-
nuisance.
oh, you get them under the public
This-
nuisance.
It's under the public nuisance
Gotcha.
statute. So all those civil public nuisance
Oh
statutes,
shit, it's me.
provided they have something to do with gangs and that sort of thing, generally those come to see me. And so we've had some game rooms, we've had a couple hotels. One hotel has visited me a couple of times because they have prostitution issues and all kinds of whatnot, and we keep trying to fix it, and we fixed it, and then well, I think we fixed that one too. They had a Kush operation running through there. So it's just,
Interesting.
we kind of see the gamut with these things. Some of them, though, are actually great things. Like we had an apartment complex where the owners had just abandoned it, basically, and weren't paying the water utilities to the city. So the city was trying to shut off water, and they're filled with residents. And
remember that
do
Would
you
that be
remember
a,
that
would
case?
that be a
news.
nuisance too?
It was a nuisance as well.
What's the nuisance aspect of that?
The nuisance aspect is that the city was wanting to take away all those utilities, which would have made that a complete health hazard for all of the surrounding community and for the people that were living there. They didn't have running water. They didn't have
But they were still
electricity,
living there?
But they were still living there because a lot of them,
Were they still paying rent?
they were still paying rent.
Really? And then the
Yeah.
owner wasn't paying the utility
owner
bills?
was just taking the rent for himself and
Did he
wasn't
go to
paying-
jail for that? That's theft of service.
It is theft of service. If they could find him, I'm sure that they would, but they could not find him for
Wow.
the longest time. I don't know if they have now, but in the end, what we ended up doing, they came to me and said, declare it a nuisance, take away the certificate of occupancy. And I said, well, great, guys, but that means like 1,000 people
Would be on the street.
would be on the street and homeless. What do we do with these 1,000 people? Well, that's not really our problem.
Oh,
but
yes.
we're going to
Come
make that
on.
our
Oh, yes.
problem.
Oh, absolutely.
So I brought in, so this is one of the other things that we can do as civil judges. I brought in what we call a receiver. And I brought in the receiver, and the receiver's job is to basically run the business or the complex so that it runs efficiently. And the receiver in that case was Gerald Womack.
Yeah, because he's told me about that. Okay, okay. I think
Yeah.
I knew about it just on a personal note.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
okay,
it was
yeah.
Gerald Womack was my receiver, and I sent him in and said, you get all the rent, you get all the utilities paid, get the people to have running water for the next 60 days. Then you got 60 days to work with the housing department and all the
Relocate.
other, to relocate all of these people. Now, some of them, as we talked about before we went on the air, some of them were recent citizens, returning citizens.
Return to citizens.
Like him?
Yes, they were returning citizens that couldn't get housing.
Housing,
Wow.
right.
It was really hard for them to get housing.
That's
so
why they were there.
That's why they were there, because this guy would charge, $100 or whatever. And so we worked with some of the found other resources for them so that we could get them housing. And in some cases, they needed job training, and we were able to do that as well. So
Whenever you have that again, get me involved in that, because that's
Yeah.
one of my missions in life is to turn my clients into taxpayers. That's one of the reasons why I work with Danny, his organization. We go to the same church, but St. John's United Methodist, but which is United Methodist is real big into restorative justice right now,
Yeah.
and Danny leads the charge at our church with the Path to Freedom and the Lazarus Project.
That's correct.
He raises the people from the dead, and we tell stories. And one of the reasons why we tell these stories on here, the crime stories, is to inspire people to do better. I've had people come tell their stories, and the guy over the U of H maintenance, the whole department gave them a job. Because in the 70s, when people got in trouble, there were no computers. So people didn't know that they had records. But now, any little thing you do is documented. Even if it's dismissed, if an employer sees it, they don't know what dismissed means. They just see you got a hit, and someone else didn't get a hit,
Right.
and they don't really do. So that's great. I'm glad that y'all did that with the job training. How did that go?
It actually went really well, which is half the reason why we started to do it in the case that
Yeah.
you do know about. So,
yeah.
a lot of people.
That was kind of fresh. I don't want to talk about it right now. But
Yeah.
come on again and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll
Because
talk
the
about
project, it's ongoing.
Yes,
and it's
it is
getting better. Yeah.
ongoing, and I hear it's doing well. But it's kind of what I was saying to you before we went on the air. For me, a lot of those individuals and businesses and people involved in those, it's about exposure, right? It's about exposure, and it's about being in front of judges and elected officials that get it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That don't live in the ivory tower. I recognize some people are just bad apples, but not everybody's a bad apple.
Right, exactly.
And some people get themselves into situations because they just didn't have exposure to something else. And
Born in an environment, and a lot of our clients, and you're dealing with those people in your court, live on the edge anyway. You know, like everybody and their best friends might all be drug addicts or drug sellers, but they're not, but they're still cool.
Right.
But you're not going to not talk to your friends because that's where you raised.
Right.
And you know, if something happens to you, they're going to be down with you. So that's the environment I was raised in San Antonio. So I understand it. But we have to keep them on the right side of the edge and not the wrong side of the edge. And when they make mistakes, what I hate in our system is that young men make mistakes at 17, 18, and 19, which they're adults at 17 in the criminal system, might go to state jail for crack under a gram, which is a sweet and low pack, and then they can never work again. So at 19, when a person has the most energy in their life, when they could work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, we have them ostracized, sitting at home, watching TV all day, wanting the same things that we have, you know, nice cars, nice houses, and they have nothing to do, and you think they're not going to go break in your house? I mean, we need to keep them busy.
you got to give them exposure.
You got to give them, and we need to find job training and keep them busy because they have the energy to do it.
Well, and it's interesting. I was talking, God, when was it? National Night Out. I was in right outside of Acres Homes, and the exact neighborhood will escape my brain, I'm sure. But I was talking to a gentleman who works for the city, and he said, you know, the issue is we've got lots of job training programs, but finding business, and we even have businesses that are willing to hire these newly trained people. The issue is, what's the incentive to some of those businesses? The bigger businesses get incentives, but the smaller businesses don't always.
That's true.
So, but they're probably more equipped to handle
Right.
our returning citizens than some of the bigger.
Right, that's true.
And so we talked about it
We
for
have
a
to work
while.
with that with the city because it's interesting for me, 24 years in criminal, that we have all the money and incentives to hurt people. You know, the probation system, the this. I mean, it's programs for everything, but they're all still punishment related. They're not, the probation departments, and if I had ever one judge I was going to change, because I'm on the street with people, we do things that were good 50 years ago, but it's not for the person today.
No.
Because 50 years ago, everybody had a good mama, a good grandmother, but these generations, they might have, everybody's a crackhead. The mama, the grandmother, we didn't grow up in an environment like that. And so my mother died when I was young, but I still had good aunts and good relatives and, you know, like foster family, to where I might have been in pain because I didn't have a mother, but I had all the other great mother examples in my family, you know, to help me realize when I get 17, I can get out of this. I can get out of San Antonio and I can go be somebody because they were pushing me to be better, you know. But when you don't have that kind of help, people are really lost and they don't know what to do and they make mistakes, and we've got to teach them life skills. One of the things that has to go with the training, though, has to be the whole person. Because these people, you say, well, didn't you learn? You think that they're going to fall back on what we learned, but they didn't learn that.
Right.
And so that's what you have to understand. They have to have the whole piece. They have to have the work, but they also have the life skills. And we have money for everything. And I think that there should be some money found for what you're talking about, the small businesses, because that's where people learn.
And that's where they get the best training and being able to get back into society.
Right.
I was actually talking to the city councilman about the fact that I handle my own property tax cases. I don't know if you're...
No, I did one once, and it
Yeah.
was a little cumbersome.
They are cumbersome, our property tax cases, because we're dealing with HCAT and their appraisals, and they're not fun. They're not sexy. They're not juicy like strip clubs at all. But the thing that I've noticed, especially in our bigger ones, is we're dealing with small businesses that are getting all of these tax hits and property tax hits that they're having to pay for. And wouldn't it be so great if there was an incentive available to them? Like, let's give you a little incentive on some of these property taxes and personal property taxes to entice you to bring in some of these returning citizens.
That would be a good idea. That's a
So-
good program that you can work with city council people on.
Yeah.
I'm in. I think we can. I think we can do that. I tried to make my ALF class, criminal justice 2, do that. You know, like when you have the judges, criminal judges, and criminal people involved, we could go out. Part of probation could be work training, and let people work for $5 an hour. It's not minimum wage, but you're just giving them a stipend to get to work, to get trained. You know what I'm saying? And so instead of go make them do this, go make them do this, things that people don't have cars for, and we can talk about our mass transit all we want to,
Oh, yeah.
but you can't. I mean, they changed the bus scheme so bad a year ago to where people have to take like 5 buses to get where they used to have to take 2 buses for, because they want you to use that metro rail.
Right.
So they changed all of the stops, and people are having a hard time. Like I said, I'm on the ground with these people, and they're having it's hard to get to a job at 8 that you have to start at 5 o'clock in the morning for.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, who's going to do that?
Yeah.
To get job training and to get minimum wage, that's just too hard to do.
Yeah, I remember a few years back, one of the judges was in ALF, and he did an experiment for about a week of only taking metro buses to get to the courthouse, and he generally lives about 15 minutes on on a good day, 15 minutes to the courthouse. It took him 3 hours.
That's what I'm saying. And so what we in probation, this is what I hate, and this is one of the reasons why I ran for judge, to try to have a voice at the table. The judges who don't understand are telling people, all these people, what to do that are from these low income areas, and you just can't do it. And it's not even having to do with jobs. This is just go to this meeting over here, go to this meeting over there, go to this place over here, just to get all this done. And that's not helping them at all. And they're having to borrow money from people to go ride the bus, to go do things. Wouldn't it be a better thing if we just send them for some job training, if they're gonna ride a bus, and let them, if they're on probation for 2 years, make them work at this place for 2 years, because at least it's teaching them job skills, job training, responsibility. Just let that be what it is, because that's gonna be better for us in a society, because they'll be taxpayers instead of lawbreakers. They'll be taxpayers. They'll feel good, because some of these people have never felt good about owning a job or having a job and money and things like that. And we'd save at least half of them, half that we don't save right now, because they want to do that. So, you got anything? We have 6 minutes. This 1 hour goes by fast. So, if y'all have any other things, tell me how it's going at the polls, Judge Palmer.
Things are going well, not as well as we want, but they are going well. And early voting is still going on till 7. Well, it's over for tonight, but today is Wednesday, so we have 2 more days of early voting, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And you can go to any early voting location in the county that you're registered in. So I'm encouraging you all to go to early voting. It's my understanding, somebody's kind of checked the weather, that on election day is going to be rainy, and from what the news guys are saying, it's going to be a little bit cooler. So it's like, go now. You can go any place. You don't, if you're out grocery shopping, some of the grocery stores, you can go in there, or just out and about in the neighborhood, you can go and vote. So vote.
Okay, Judge Smoots-Hogan, what do you want to tell us?
I think some of the numbers that we've heard recently, which are kind of scary, and so I want to deal with this.
Okay, let's deal with it. You can have the last 5 minutes.
I've heard that our African American voting is down. And it's scary to me for a number of reasons, most of which that person on the other side, the notion of that person being president is the most frightening thought I've had in quite some time. It just makes me think that we would go back to what my grandparents, my parents dealt with, 50s, 60s, different counters, all of that loveliness, and people in white hoods. I mean, we were kind of getting to the point where certain people on the other side just took their hoods off and start talking. So, so it's very scary. I've heard from a lot of voters, we don't like one or the other at the top of the ticket. I've heard that. We've both heard that out on the trail a lot. Here's what I always tell everybody. I'm so sorry that you feel that way about those at the top of the ticket, but those of us at the bottom of the ticket, I can take your house before the other person or President Clinton can.
Right.
I can take your house right now as I sit here. So that usually drives it home for people. Like, I can make you homeless.
Right.
President Clinton, should that happen, cannot do that. That other person cannot do that. Okay? And so that's why it's so important to vote. And I know that our President Obama has told everybody, give me one last gift, which is go vote. But unfortunately, it's hard to get people to understand. Yes, we don't have somebody that looks like us, if you will, at the top of the ticket, but there are several at the bottom of the ticket
That do look like you.
that do look like us. And if certain people do what I hope they do and vote a particular straight ticket, and I am wearing blue, so that could tell you what specific. If you vote that way, you have the ability to make more people that look like us on both the civil and the criminal side than we've ever had before.
Right.
So the complaints that I always hear about, nobody's out for us, our vote doesn't count, nobody down at the courthouse cares about us or understands our plight, that's just not true if you do what you need to do. And, I've been on this bench 8 years. I've never forgotten that I came from Brentwood. Sorry, can't forget those things, Those of us that came from our beginnings can never forget that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we get to use those things when we're on the bench, when we have a little bit of discretion. So I can't implore people enough. You may not be jazzed about the top of the ticket, be jazzed about the bottom of the ticket and go vote.
We need you. We need you to vote. What do you got to say, my friend?
Well, I want to read from our push card at the Lazarus Project. And one of the things in our mission we talk about is, one is we have core values, and 3 is focus, discipline, and consistency. The other, we want to help returning citizens, formerly incarcerated persons and their families access needed resources like job training and employment, housing, clothing, etc. Some of the things we talk about. But one of the last things on our mission statement is this. We want to be able to reform the prison system by educating ourselves and others about unjust public policies and fully participate in the American democratic process, and that's voting. So one of the things we're doing, and I'm doing with men and women that are getting out of prison, returning citizens, is not letting them talk about, hey, just get out and get a job. Let's get involved in this political process that is affecting us more than anything else. We need to look at changing the laws and the policy that is affecting us, not the color of the people's skin or them over there. We got to get involved in the democratic process, and we do that by voting. So if you're out there and you're not on parole, you can register to vote. Do like I did. I voted for the first time in a presidential election at the age of 52 last weekend, and that's something that that should be celebrated, because now I can use my voice and not my anger about what I don't like about the system. And I'm not going to just talk about it from my perspective. I'm going to go out and educate. And Vivian, what you did is create a platform here on Truth and Justice to give us the educational portion that we're missing in our communities. What I heard them call the low information voter doesn't vote, doesn't participate because he doesn't have the information. So because of platforms like Truth and Justice, we learn in real time what the real issues are and what we can do to change them. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I have 30 seconds, so I'm going to wrap it up by asking you to please vote, 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 vote. I am going to try an experiment next Wednesday. I'm going to be celebrating with my friends who win, and so I am going to let Danny take the wheel next Wednesday. For the first and maybe the last time if you don't mess up. Next week, no, I'm just teasing. Danny's always welcome. And I'm going to be celebrating with my friends on Thursday night at the Guide Gallery of next week. I'm going to give a celebration party for the winners. So please vote. You might not understand it. I'm sorry if I haven't explained it enough. I tried to fill in the gap for the NAACP, the Urban League, all of our newspapers to try to help you understand why it's important to vote straight ticket until the system is changed. That's the system we have. Please vote and vote straight ticket, and don't be afraid to vote on Wednesday. And if you don't know where to vote, next Tuesday. And if you don't know where to vote, go to Harris County Votes or Harris County Voters database and find your registration online and print it, and it'll tell you where to go vote. All right? I want to see you voting. All right. Good night. Thank you for watching. Good night.
I'm hosting Truth and Justice next week.
Yay!